Hi everyone, this is Dr. Adil Maqbool, the Vice Dean Faculty of Commerce, Integral University Lucknow. Once again present here to discuss the fourth unit of the Sales and Marketing Management. And today we are going to discuss the following topics, and these topics includes the management of physical distribution, distribution channel intermediaries, channel management decision, organized retailing, and also we will here differentiate between the organized retailing and unorganized retailing, direct marketing, the internet marketing, or you can say the digital marketing, marketing of services, which is also a very important topic, which includes the last three P's of the marketing mix, which comes under the intangible part of the product, that is marketing of services. Sixth topic, we are going to discuss advertising as a management function, advertising objectives, and also in the seventh topic we are going to discuss the Dagmar approach of advertising, advertising media, and selection decisions. So I hope you all will enjoy my lecture, and I will explain these topics with examples, and I expect all of you to be present here and sincerely listen my lecture. So let us start with the first topic, which is related to the management of physical distribution. Concept of physical distribution is very simple. This is related to the fourth P of the marketing mix, which is related to the placement or distribution of the product or services which are produced in the manufacturing units. The physical distribution management, which is also known as PDM, involves planning, implementation, and controlling the efficient flow of raw materials as well as the finished goods from their point of origin, where it is to be manufactured, to the point of consumption, which is to be consumed, to meet the consumer needs at a reasonable profit or expected profit. So it focuses on the logistic task within the broader supply chain management process. So this is basically the physical distribution is, once you have produced the products or the services, how it is to be reached to the hands of the consumers for the final consumption is an important task of the marketing. So here in this topic we are going to discuss the different aspects of the physical distribution, their intermediaries between the manufacturer and the consumers, and their decisions. So the key components of the physical distribution are consist of several interrelated activities where the decision in one area affect the others, known as the total system approach of physical distribution. The first point under this is order processing. So the starting point of the distribution process involving receiving, handling, recording, and assembling orders for shipments. So once you have to get the orders, and that has to be processed accordingly, is important ask. So the goal is to reduce the order cycle time, the time for order placement to the delivery of the final orders, to enhance the customer satisfaction. So if the customer will get the right product at the right time in the right place, then he or she will definitely be satisfied. Otherwise, if your other activities are good but your distribution channel is not efficient, then it will be difficult that the consumer will get the product in time, in the right quantity and quality. So order processing is the first part, which means you have to take care of the timeline, you have to take care of the lead time, which is very important part, which start from the time period given by the customer to the manufacturer or the retailer or the wholesaler or any intermediaries from whom you are directly, or being a customer you are directly involved. The second part is warehousing and storage. This is also part of the physical distribution, that if you are producing your product in the Kanyakumari, how it is possible to distribute it to the Jammu and Kashmir. So this is the warehousing and storage which helps the entire physical distribution. So it involves holding and preserving goods from the time they are produced until they are needed by the customers. So bridging the gap between the seasonal production and consumption decision involves the number of locations, centralized and decentralized warehousing is involved. Virtual warehousing is also very important aspect to be discussed here. And type means private, public, refrigerated, or any other kind of the warehouses or storage are required according to the perishability of the product or the nature of the product. We have to store the product in a safe place until it has been handed over to the consumer's hand. Inventory control is also part, that inventory is that aspect of the physical distribution. If you do not have proper control over the inventory, it will take you towards the losses, heavy losses. So whatever inventory is required is to be stored. That's why I said I have told you that the virtual inventory system or virtual warehousing system is the aspect of the modern supply chain management. Managing the stock to ensure an adequate supply to meet demand without overstocking, which ties up capital, or understocking, which leads to the loss sales, as I have already told you. The techniques like just-in-time inventory and economic order quantity are often used to calculate the actual amount of stock to be required as an inventory in a warehouse or a storage. Next aspect is the material handling. The activities related to the moving the products efficiently over a short distance within the warehouse or facility, such as using conveyor belts in order to move the product from one place to another. Forklift that you can see in the metro sales or big warehouses like IKEA. The forklift is to be used to put the material through pallets in different shelf racks. So proper management avoids product damage and unnecessary movement of the product. Pilferages can also be minimized if you have a proper material handling system in your physical distribution process. Next is the transportation. Transportation is obvious that the product where it is to be produced cannot be consumed at that place. So you have to displace the product from one place to another place. The physical movement of goods from the production facility or a warehouse to the customer destination or retailer's point. Key decisions involve the mode of transport. That may be road transport, rail transport, air transport, water transport, pipeline transport, or a ropeways also is a very common in Jammu and Kashmir and the hilly areas, where the time can be saved if we are using the trolleys on a rope. Considering cost, speed, reliability, and the nature of the product. So transportation depends on these features of the product. Next is the packaging that protects the product. The protective packaging is essential to contain and shield product from damage during handling, storage, and transportation. So ensuring they reach the customer in a good condition is very important aspect of physical distribution. Now come to the distribution channel intermediaries. What are the people, what are the organizations, the companies which are in between the manufacturer and the ultimate consumers. So distribution channel intermediaries, which are also known as middlemen or a marketing intermediaries, is also used in some of the aspects are independent businesses or individuals that facilitates the flow of goods and services from the manufacturer to the final consumer. So they bridge the gap between the production and consumption by performing essential functions such as the storage of the small quantities of material at the warehouses, transportation of material from the warehouse to the retailer's point, and selling, which manufacturers often cannot do efficiently on their own. So everything cannot be done by the manufacturer. There are certain things which are to be handled by the intermediaries like the agents, brokers, retailers, wholesalers, and any other intermediary which are in between the manufacturer and the ultimate users. These are the different types of the intermediaries. Wholesalers, as you know, who buy in bulk, so purchase products in a large quantities from manufacturers and resell them in smaller quantities to the retailers in different areas, in different districts, in different states. So it is not necessary that the production can be produced at a place and can also be consumed at the same place. This is not possible. So we have to need different intermediaries. Retailer is those intermediaries which are in directly touch with the consumers. To sell product directly to the final consumers is the job of the retailers. Examples include the supermarkets, the departmental stores, or kirana shops, gully shops, and also the online stores also comes under the retailings. Agents and brokers act as a sales representative for producers, connecting them with buyers, but do not take ownership of the product themselves. The ownership always be in the hands of the manufacturers. So brokers typically have a more limited per transaction relationship, and they charge the brokerage as well as the agency commission against their services. Distributors are also ensures product reach to the end consumers, often providing logistical support, functioning, financing also, and market research they have to do at their own. Value added retailers, which are known as VARS, add value to the product or services before reselling it to the end users. Online marketplaces is a recent development e-commerce platform that acts as intermediaries by connecting buyers and sellers like Flipkart, Amazon, eBay. A large number of platforms are available nowadays. Zomato in food and Swiggy in food, and Big Bazaar they have their own. Reliance they have their own. There are large number of online marketplaces are available, and the goods are to be sold through that. As far as the functions of the intermediaries are concerned, the first function is the information, means gather and provide market information to manufacturer and consumer so that they can act accordingly. They can make changes in the products accordingly, and different aspects of the consumers information can be provided to the manufacturers. Second is the promotion, helps promote products to prospective buyers. Contact means find and communicate with the prospective buyers. Matching, match the needs of seller and buyers. For example, by breaking down bulk purchases into smaller quantities in different places. Physical distribution is also a part of the intermediaries, which comes to transport, store, handle the product, means material handling, as I have already explained you. Financing, providing finances to cover the cost associated with the product throughout the channel. Risk bearing job is also performed by these intermediaries, take the risk associated with the owing and holding the inventory is also beared by these intermediaries, wholesalers and retailers to some extent. Types of distribution channels, or we can say the labels. So these are the four very common types of or the labels of the channels, which I have explained here through the a diagram. the 0 level, 1 level, 2 level and 3 level. You can see in a 0 level channel, which is also known as direct channel, no intermediaries are involved. The producer sells directly to the consumers. Example, online stores, direct sales through a TV channel or any factory outlets. One channel, one level channel, one intermediary is involved, typically a retailer. Example, manufacturer sells the products to the retailers and retailer directly hand over the products to the consumers. So there is one intermediary you can see here. In the retailer is in between the manufacturer and the consumers. In the two channels, two intermediaries are involved, usually the wholesalers and retailers. The example, manufacturers, wholesaler, retailer and consumer. You can see in the diagram the third place, manufacturer is there, wholesaler, then wholesaler sells to the retailers and retailers hand over the products to the consumers on their markup. Three level channels, these three intermediaries are involved, often an agent, a wholesaler, retailer. So this is common for a wide national, international distribution. You can see at the fourth level, manufacturer is there, agent is there, or agent or broker may also be there. Then they sell the product to the wholesalers and wholesalers to the retailers and retailers finally sell the product to the consumers. So the choice of the channel depends on the product type, target market, characteristic, cost, control requirements and overall business strategy. Channel management decision is also an important aspect to be discussed here. Channel management decisions are the strategic choices a company makes to ensure the efficient and effective flow of goods and services from the manufacturer to the end users. So these decisions involve designing the distribution network framework, selecting partners, managing relationship between the partners and evaluating performance. So the key channel management decisions include, first is setting channel objectives. What is the target of the channel? So before designing the channel, companies must establish clear objective for customer service level, make coverage which are influenced by the target market's needs, product characteristic as well as the company resources. And the second is the identifying and selecting the channel partner. This is the second channel decision to be taken by the CEOs of the companies about selecting the intermediaries, identifying the selecting channel partner. This is crucial decision involved choosing appropriate type and number of intermediaries such as the wholesaler, retailer, agents, broker or different online platforms to be used to distribute the products to the consumers in order to satisfy the customers or to achieve the set objective. The selecting criteria often includes the market research and coverage you have to do before deciding or selecting the channel partner, financial stability and resources, alignment with the brand image and values, and also the service reputation and capability is also an important aspect to be take care while identifying and selecting the channel partners. The next is determining the distribution intensity is also required. The companies must decide on the level of market coverage. So there may be intensive distribution, means placing product in as many outlets as possible, common for mass market goods like commodities. So this is this is most importantly used in impulse selling on necessities. Selective distribution using a limited number of intermediaries to maintain a certain level of control and quality image. In some consumer durable products, you can say this type of a selective distribution is to be decided. Exclusive distribution means granting exclusive right to the single or a very few dealers in a specific territory, often for luxury or a complex product. Like you can maybe a distributor of a luxury cars or imported cars or imported industrial machinery. So basically industrial product, this exclusive distribution is required because the machineries are imported from different countries like Germany, America. So they have to be decided. In some sensitive chemicals also, exclusive distribution is required. They may be used in some destructive activities also, so exclusive distribution is used in some sensitive chemicals also. Establishing channel policies and responsibilities is also important aspect of channel management decision. Defining the rules of engagement is vital for both operations. This includes the pricing policies, selecting list price, margin price, or discount structures for intermediaries, terms and condition of the sale, detailing payment terms, guarantees and return policies, territory rights, defining the geographic area where each channel member operates is also one of the aspect of establishing channel policies and responsibilities. Mutual service and support, specifying who is responsible for training, marketing support and customer service is another aspect of to be discussed here. Motivation is also important. Motivating and managing channel members through providing certain facilities or giving them some outing coupons. Ongoing management is necessary for foster collaboration and high performance decisions that involve communication, maintaining open and clear communication channel, incentives, implementing financial and non-financial rewards, example performance linked bonuses, marketing support, advertising support, or exclusive product access, that has to be provided in the form of the incentive to the channel members. Training and support, mostly in the pharmaceutical companies or sensitive industrial product companies, providing necessary training and resources to the ensure members can effectively represent the product. You can see that if the new medicines comes into the market, the medical representative has been provided a proper training at the headquarters of the manufacturing the medical equipments or a medicine company to properly train them so that they can present their product in front of the doctors. So another aspect is the evaluating channel performance is also important part, because you are investing a lot of money and you are taking the risk of handovering the product in the hands of the channel members. So evaluation is also important parts. Regularly monitoring and assessing the efficiency and distribution network is crucial for adoption. Key performance indicators includes the sales volume and market share, profitability of each channel, the customer satisfaction scores, adherence to distribution timeline and inventory level. It comes under the channel performance evaluation. Next aspect is the modifying channel arrangement. If you feel that the current channel is not successfully doing the job, the marketplace is dynamic, requiring periodic review and modification of channel strategies is in response to changing consumer behavior, new technologies coming into the market like the e-commerce, competition, regressive competition in the market, or cutthroat competition in the market, or the product lifestyle or life cycle is also important to know in which life cycle stage our product is. At that point of time, we have to modify our channel arrangement. So that's about the physical distribution. Now come to the retailing. So if we are talking about the retailing, you can see in the diagram, these are some of the photographs of the organized retail stores where the self-service is important. As far as the unorganized retail stores are concerned, you can see in different markets. In the Lucknow city, you can see the market like Aminabad, you can see the market of the Ganeshganj. Every type of shops are there. The shops of the Kirana is also there. The shops of the food grains, Mandi are also there. The shops related to the meat is also there. The shops related to the fabric is also there in the Ganesh Ganj. So it's a unorganized market. But if you talk about the Saharaganj, Lulu Mall, Fun Republic, these are the different kind of malls, metro sales or Walmart sales store. These are the organized retail stores. So let's start with the topic. Organized retailing refers to systematic and scientific trading activities typically undertaken by the licensed businesses such as corporate bagged hypermarkets, retail chains digital, Reliance Digital, you can say the Metro Sales, Metro Wholesale, or you can see the IKEA, that in foreign countries they are Panda in Saudi Arabia. A lot of chains are there. So it is characterized by modern technology, robust infrastructure, and a professional management practices. In contrast to unorganized retail store, example as I told you, the local kirana shops, street vendors near your house, which is often small scale and informal. So there is no scientific or a systematic way of getting the products. There is no systematic bar tag is also available on each and every product. The product has been protected through a device for pilferages and the theft from the stores. In unorganized kirana stores or shops or departmental stores, this kind of activities are not performed by these sellers, and they also face losses. The key characteristics of the organized retailing is formal structure. Businesses are registered under the legal provisions and comply with the tax regulations like sale tax, GST, income tax, etc. They often operate on a corporate model with clear management hierarchies. Second point is scale and variety. So organized retailers operate large scale units, example in malls, supermarkets, hypermarket, departmental store. These comes under the different varieties of the organized retails that offer a wide assortment of brands and products under a single roof. So if you have visited the Fun Republic or a Metro Sales, you can see that there are different lanes, there are different shelves are available for different products. Even the garments is also available there. The groceries are available there. The confectionery is also available there. The toiletries are also available there. The utensils are also there. So you can see each and everything is available in the Lulu hypermarket or the Metro Sales or Walmart. So I have personally visited, and where you have to visit there, and you can see what the different types of material handling machineries are also available there. So to put and take off the product from the shelves. Standardized operations is the third point. They utilize modern technology and management system, including well-defined supply chain, inventory control, and standardized pricing and service models are also applied in organized retail stores. Customer experience is our primary focus is on providing convenient, comfortable, and consistent shopping experience to the visitors, with value added services like credit facilities are also there, home delivery also there, after sales support is also there, proper discounting and coupons are also available, different incentives are also given on a bulk purchases in a wholesale retail stores also, especially is there. Personalized staff means store employee trained and professional staff to assist customers, which differ from family run unorganized stores or a family businesses like a kirana store in your gully or in your locality. There are certain growth drivers are also. So the expansion for organized retailing, especially in emerging economies, is driven by several factors. What are these factors? These are factors are rising disposable income, because the income of the public is increasing In a recent years, it has been seen and observed an expanding middle class with a higher spending power and changing lifestyle fuse demand for a modern retail experience. So now the time will come, or time is coming, that the people are not going through the tag before buying a product. So urbanization and mall culture is the second point. Rapid urbanization has led to the development of a shopping centers and malls, creating one-stop shop destination that combines shopping with the entertainment and food. Third point is changing consumer behavior is also come across. The time constraint for working professionals and the working woman especially increases the preference for convenience, variety and quality offered by organized stores. The next point is the government practices and foreign direct investment, liberalization of foreign direct investment in the retail, supportive government policies like GST implementation facilities, the entry and expansion of large national and international players are coming into the India, like the recent examples are KFC, McDonald's, the Starbucks, the Subway. They all are coming into, and recently the IKEA is also coming under the foreign direct investment scheme of the government of India. Technological advancement is also one of the driver. The integration of e-commerce and digital payment system has further streamlined operations and enhanced customer accessibility. The core functions and operations are store operations. The store has to be managed. The customer service, which is also very important for the organized stores, which is very important part, how the consumer experience their visit. Promotions and events, managing events, promotion and partnership with the local business is a key part of marketing. And back-end processes involves inventory management, supply chain management, and utilizing technology for efficient store management, proper invoicing system, proper supply chain management. The different organizations who are involved in a supply chain management that has to be properly managed is the core functions and operations of the organized retailing. Here I have discussed in a paragraph the distinction between the organized and unorganized retailing. So the primary difference lies in structure and scale. Unorganized retailing is typically a small family run business like local kirana store or a street vendor near your house that often lacks formal registration, modern technology, and a standardized business model. While the unorganized sector still holds a significant market share in many economies, the organized sector is growing rapidly due to the factors like rising disposable income of the modern middle class people, urbanization, and changing consumer preferences. So, these are the few things in order to distinguish between the unorganized and the organized retailing. These are the different types of the organized retail stores like hypermarket. You can see in the Lulu Mall also large retail stores combining supermarkets in the departmental store under one roof, offering a vast range of products like Big Bazaar or Lulu Mall or Looper Supermarket. Supermarket is another model of organized retail stores, primarily self-service stores offering groceries and limited non-food items only comes under the supermarket. Departmental store is also another type of organized retailing, offer a wide variety of products categories, each managed by different department. You can see in the metro sales or a Walmart, there are different departments and they are selling different product. Specialty stores focus exclusively on a specific product type of a brand. Example, a store only selling electronics or apparel like digital, Reliance Digital is one of the example of a specialty store. E-tailers are online platform that sells goods and services directly to the consumers. Amazon and Flipkart is a very prominent examples of these e-tailers. So now we move towards the third topic of today's lecture, that is direct marketing. Direct marketing is, as you know, is a strategy where the companies communicate directly with the targeted audience or targeted customers or individuals, you can say, to elicit an immediate response or transactions bypassing mass media intermediaries, wholesaler, retailers. So it is a direct data driven approach that relies heavily on customer information to personalize messages and measure results immediately. So direct marketing is one of the important aspect of the marketing or a promotion of the products. So the key features of direct marketing is targeted audience. You have to first segment the market, means divide the heterogeneous market into a homogeneous small groups, and then from these groups you have to choose your target audience. So campaigning are directed to at a specific consumer segment based on a demographic, means his or her marital status, the gender, the personal income, the age, and any demographic traits may also be considered. Purchase history, interest, and location rather than mass audience. So this is a very important aspect, that you have to first decide where you have to put the your target. And you can see in the diagram, there is uh, this is a fair example of direct marketing. You are targeting on a particular place. Personalization means messages are customized to appeal to an individual recipient, example using their name, referencing past purchases, making the communication feel like a one on one conversation. Third is measurable results, mean the effectiveness of a campaign is easily tracked using specific metrics like response rate, conversion rate, and return on investment, which helps in refining future strategies. The fourth important part is the clear call to action CAT message. Messages typically include an explicit instructions on prompt for the consumer to take immediate actions such as buy now, call today, or sign up. These are the different things which comes under CAT. Direct communication means the process eliminates the middleman like a retail store or a general advertisement medium, connecting the seller and the buyer directly with the concerned manufacturer or the supplier of the product. Common types or examples of direct marketing is email marketing, direct mailer. Email marketing, sending target emails with offers, newsletters, or a product information. You can see that a lot of the junk mails we are receiving every day from the Pantaloon, from the Color Plus, from the Benetton. A large number of, once we have given our email or a phone number, they start sending emails to us directly. So store might email a discount code for item or a customer previously viewed. So direct mail, sending a physical promotional materials like postcard, catalogs, brochures, or letters via postal service, or nowadays on an online portal, or on your WhatsApp group also they directly send the mail. A local restaurant might send flyers with special deals to nearby homes. And recently I have seen the Pizza Hut, they have given different coupon in a newspaper, so you can bring that coupon and you can get a discount of 10%, or buy one pizza and get another pizza free. So this kind of offers may come or may be used for by the different outlets. Telemarketing, contacting potential customers via phone to promote product services or gather feedback. If you visit any car showroom once and they ask your phone number and they start calling you at every interval that, okay sir, what is your mood what you have decided of buying a car. We have a very good financial services companies. They are providing loan up to 80%. So these are the different kind of things they directly talk to you over a phone. SMS mobile marketing is also very common. Social media marketing, you can see nowadays everybody is involved in social media marketing. So using platforms like Facebook and Instagram to send direct messages or display targeted ads based on user behavior and demographic. Now the AI also playing a very important role in this social media marketing. That if you are even talking about a product with your wife or your friend, and the similar ads may start coming on your Instagram or a Facebook. This is because of the AI, because our phone is so smart that they know that okay, what kind of a product we are going to buy or we are planning to buy. So they start giving ads of the similar products on the phone on your social media platform. So direct selling in person, face-to-face interaction with the customers, such as door-to-door sellers or pop-up events allowing for immediate feedback and personal connection, is also there. Direct response through TV and radio is also very rare, but it's common. Commercial with the specific toll-free numbers or a website URL encouraging viewers to make an immediate purchase. You can see Home Shop 18 is a type of a program comes on your TV channel, and if you will immediately call, you will get a very good discount or a product, or you can get a very good deal if you immediately call. So these are the different types of a direct response TV through TV and radio. These are the advantages and challenges faced by the direct marketing. Are cost effective. This is an advantage. High rate of return on investment is potential. Relationship building is possible through direct marketing because you are directly in touch with the customers. Quick result and feedback is also possible through this. And as far as the challenges is concerned, the intrusiveness of the span perception may also be possible. There is a possibility of intrusiveness span and perception, unsolicited communication, junk mail, spam mail, unwanted calls can annoy customers and lead to a negative brand. And this is very common that we do not like every time that the ads are coming on our WhatsApp or email, and a lot of spam calls are also started coming, like promotional calls on our phone through Airtel. If we have a true caller in our phone, we can avoid that and we can cut the call, as I just cut the call. Privacy concerns is also one of the concepts in the direct marketing. Limited reach. Campaigns are limited to people in the database which is available to you, and those who have opted in, which may not be suitable for building mass brand awareness quickly. Database management cost is also somewhere is a challenge for direct marketing, that building and maintaining an accurate up to date customer database can be resource intensive. Come to the fourth topic, which is also very interesting topic, and you can see the picture I have pasted here, that is called internet marketing or digital marketing. Internet marketing, which is also called online marketing or a digital marketing, refers to promoting products, services or brand using the internet and digital platforms. It involves reaching customer through websites, social media, search engines, emails, online ads and other digital channels. What is the role of AI in digital marketing? Which is, I have just told you that if you are talking about a product on a phone and the similar ads starts coming, so this is the role the AI play nowadays in social media marketing. AI also helps businesses analyze the customer data, predict behavior personalized ads, connect automate tasks like email, chatbot, social post, improve targeting and optimize campaign in real time to increase efficiency and convenience of the customers. These are the different types of the digital or internet marketing. Search engine operation, SEO, you have already known that improving your website so it ranks higher on Google. Bring for a relevant keywords, example optimizing pages for best MBA college in Lucknow, so your college appears on a page 1. So this is the search engine. If you continuously searching a similar thing, then you will be on the top. Search engine marketing, SEM, pay per click PPC ads are also one of the type of digital marketing. Paid ads on search engines, Google ads, you pay when someone click. Example, a coaching institute running Google ads for cat coaching in Delhi is one of the example I have presented here of search engine marketing. Social media marketing, SMM, promoting via platforms like Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, Snapchat, and etc. includes organic posts plus paid social media ads also there. Content marketing is also important, creating useful contents, blogs, videos, infographics, ebooks, reels, very common, to attract and educate customers and build trust through the influencers. You can see the Shadab, the companies are using Shadab, whose very common wordings are that 10 wala biscuit kitne ka hai ji. So you can see this kind of the person which is not very famous but now become very famous, and the companies are using this person Shadab for advertising their products. For example, a finance app posting how to save tax under section 80C blocks. Email marketing, sending targeted emails, newsletters to people who have subscribed or are existing customers is also another kind of digital marketing. Mobile marketing, very common, promotions via SMS, WhatsApp, mobile apps, in app notification and mobile friendly sites. This is very recently I have seen that the WhatsApp immediately created a WhatsApp group and starts coming the ad about a product. Affiliate marketing, other people affiliates promote your product on their website, YouTube, Instagram, and earn a commission for each sale or lead. Influencer marketing, as I already given you the example of a Shadab collaborating with social media influencers, creators to promote your brand to their followers. Display and video advertising, banners, ads, video ads, pop-ups, shows on websites, apps, YouTube, often via Google Display Network or programs ads, is a very common example of a display and a video advertising. And the last is the marketing analytics or web analytics. Is a very recently a very important and a very good uh, alternative for the people who are from the commerce and management background. They can have marketing analytics jobs which are available by different national and multinational companies using tools like Google Analytics to track visitors, conversation, ROI, and then improve the campaign. Here are few simple examples of digital marketing in India: social media marketing, search engine marketing, as I have already told you, search engine optimization, influencer marketing, email marketing, very common. And the examples are I have given here. You can go through that. My notes, blogs, videos, and infographics to attach audience for Tata Capital's Money blog, providing financial guidelines. Email marketing, here is an example of a Flipkart sending offers on a sale alert. Influencer marketing like Mama Earth working with beauty and lifestyle influencers. Search engine optimization, I have given the examples, and social media marketing, Instagram reels, Facebook ads, YouTube influencers. Like here is an example of Amul's topical post on Instagrams and Twitter are some of the examples of a digital marketing in India. Now we have forwarded towards the fifth topic of today's lecture, that is marketing of services. As the physical products are important to be marketed, the services are also required to be properly marketed. So marketing of services focus on promoting intangible offerings, like the things which you cannot see, you cannot touch, you cannot feel, and you cannot smell even. So intangible offerings like haircut or legal advice using an expanded 7 piece marketing mix: product, price, place, promotion. But people, process, and physical evident, which are termed as extended marketing mix, are related to the marketing of services, in which people, processes, and physical evidence are the factors of a marketing 7 piece of a marketing mix, which are used for intangible products, or we can say services, ideas, to manage the unique challenges of services based businesses. Key characteristics of services include intangibility. It is intangible, you cannot touch. This is a keyboard, I can touch. This is a mouse, we can touch, we can see before buying. But in services, if you are going to buy the services of a gym, we cannot touch. If we are going to travel from Lucknow to Delhi, we cannot see what kind of a plane will be, and we are not owing anything after getting the service. If we are going for a haircut, so we have to get a satisfaction only from the, or a dissatisfaction from the services of the hair cutter. So there are few of the characteristics of marketing of services which are important to be discussed here. I have shown the ambience of a gym. So from this photograph, this is a physical evidence. If you are going to join a gym, that gym is very good, because I have seen in a picture they have a very good equipments, machinery, ambience, air conditioning, and also a lot of educated people are coming in that gym, so that gym will be suitable for me. These are the characteristics which are very important to differentiate the tangible product with the intangible product, like a product which may be a mobile phone, or a service like what I am giving you a lecture. Will you be satisfied with my lecture, or will not be satisfied with lecture after going through my video? So service typically have 4 core characteristics that distinguish them from goods. Intangibility: services performance are acts rather than physical objects. So they cannot be seen, touched, taste, felt, or even smelled before purchase. Marketers must manage the evidence by providing tangible clues. Example: a clean facility, a professional brochure, a strong branding, a consumer testimonials, to help consumers evaluate the service quality. You have seen that if you go to a good hotel, you find the people are well dressed. The persons on a reception in a well dressed or similar sari will be sitting on a reception and will ask you, may I help you, and what can I help you, how can I help you. So these are the different things, and you can see the ambience. And the most important in case of a hotel is the location of the hotel. If the hotel is in a small street, then you will not prefer. If it is on road, so you can get the transport easily, so that will be a very good. So what is the strong point of that services you are going to provide is the physical evidence, through which you can convince the customer that this is the prominent things which are possible in our services, which are not possible in the competitor services. The intangible is this: you cannot see, you cannot touch, you cannot smell. So how you can advertise? That is important. Heterogeneity means variability. Services delivery is often highly variable because it involves human elements and depends on who provides them, when and where. It is difficult to standardize the services completely. The challenge is to ensure consistent quality through rigorous training and standardized processes like McDonald's model. So if you see, I'll give you the example of a haircut. Once you go to a barber shops for a haircut, you will be fully satisfied. But it is not sure that the next time you will go, you will be satisfied. Either you will be satisfied, you will be dissatisfied, or delighted. So that's why we say that the services are heterogeneous. They cannot be same. Okay. If a service given by a hotel beer, so once they may be, you will feel that they have given a very good service, and second time he become very late in providing you the food on the table. So you will feel that the services are not. The services cannot be same. They are always heterogeneous. Inseparability. I'll give a very good example here. Inseparability, that the services are not separate from the service provider and the service receiver. If you will not hand over your head in front of a hair cutter, how he will cut the hair, you have to be involved. If you are going to an architect, or if you are going to a chartered accountant and you will not tell your problems, how can he help you? So the receiver of the service and the provider of the service, they are not separate. So this is the inseparability concept. It is their perishability. Like apples, bananas, services are also perishable. How? Services cannot be stored, invented, or returned. An empty hotel room or an unsold airline seat represent lost revenue that cannot be recovered. You cannot store it. If you fly from Delhi to Lucknow to Delhi and 10 seats are vacant and are not filled, that cannot be recovered next day, because the day today there is a loss of 10 seats. So this loss cannot be recovered. So they are perishable. वो खराब हो जाती है. Services cannot be restored. You cannot be sell next day. ठीक है? No ownership. When a customer buy a service, they are paying for the use or expertise access to facilitate or performance, but they do not gain ownership or any physical item. Unlike that, if you are using a gym, you cannot be a owner of anything. You are just getting a service. So there is no ownership in services. This is the characteristic of services. Extended marketing mix, that is 7 P's. So to effectively market services, the traditional 4 P's, product, price, place, promotion, and expanded to include 3 additional elements are people, process, and physical evidence. The product means in services, service offerings, what you are offering. After sales service, if you will buy 3 services of a car, you will get a discount of 1000 rupees. This may be a service. Pricing can be complex due to intangibility and the lack of clear cost goods, because you do not know how the Integral University will have the teachers before taking admissions. You will not have any clue that, unless only the website or from the word of mouth you have listened that this is a very good university, I have a very qualified teachers over there. But before taking admission, you are not known. It is not known that the 1,40,000 rupees I am paying for getting an MBA admission, this will be a valid investment or not. So you cannot be sure that. So there are certain clues, there are certain things which makes you a good, like surge pricing or a ride hailing, etc. In different services is possible. Place is the distribution. This service to the channels through which the customer can access the services. The physical location, online platform agents, convenience and accessibility are the key considerations. Promotion is also important. Strategies focus on creating awareness and communicating the benefits of the intangible services, testimonials, strong branding, and public relations are crucial for building trust and differentiating from the competitors. So, this is the promotion concept in case of services which cannot be touched, which cannot be seen, which cannot be smelled, even which cannot be feel. So, people is those who provide the services. The employees are a vital part of services delivery, like a doctor is a pupil, the architect is a pupil, the lawyer is a pupil, the teacher I am is a pupil. So, people play an important role in services. Either you will be satisfied with my lecture or not satisfied, or will be dissatisfied with my lecture. So, this is a service, but totally depends on me. A doctor, a surgeon, you are on risk in the hands of a doctor. If a doctor is very famous, like the Vedanta's owner, I forget the name of that, he was earlier in the Escorts Hospital and one of the best heart surgeon. So the name is quite enough if he is going to do your surgery. So people play a very important role in processes. In hotels, the chef, in hotels, the beer, the I mean, in a coffee shop, the coffee maker, in a cocktail, the cocktail maker. So they are the people who play an important role. Processes means what process will the company will use in offering the services. That may be a complicated or a good. I'll give you a very good example that of the process, that if you are going in a bank to open an account, and if you will not get a proper parking in a bank, you will be dissatisfied from the outside of the bank. So instead of going inside, you will be returned. This is the process. So process should be very easy, very good. So this refers to the system and procedure used to deliver the services efficiently and consistently. Streamlined processes, example online booking, order taking, enhance the customer experience. So in the process, I give you one more example of Al Bag in Saudi Arabia. So whenever you take the coupon, they give you a time, a 10 minutes time. So if you'll see your watch, and as and when the 10 minutes will over, your packet will be there in front of you. So that is the efficient services they give. Physical evidence, this includes the tangible clues in the service equipment such as the facility, ambience, equipment, staff uniform, brochures. Physical evidence helps tangibilize the intangible things. This is a very important phrase. Tangibilize the intangible things. I mean, with the dresses of the people in a hotel, you can see that the quality of hotel, and resources customers about the quality of services. I'll give you a very small example of a Tunde Kababi here. If you go visit the Aminabad Tunde Kababi, you will feel that a lot of photographs of different celebrities and the ministers are over there on the wall of the Tunde Kababi in Aminabad. Why? Because they want to show that the quality of this Tunde Kababi is experienced by these people. So this is the physical evidence they have put on the wall of their restaurant. Now come to the sixth topic, the advertising as a management function. It is very important to know that what advertising is. Advertising is any paid form, any form of promotion and promotion of your goods and services which are paid by a sponsored sponsorer. So advertising as a management function is a systematic process of planning, organizing, directing, and controlling the various activities involved in communicating persuasive messages to the target audience through non-personal paid media to achieve a specific organization objective, as I told you when I was giving you the meaning of advertising. The key functions of advertising include informing, persuading, reminding, adding value, and supporting other staff efforts. What is informing? Introducing a new product is introducing a new product means if you are coming to the market with a new product, you have to inform first through your ad. So informing the market or price changes, explaining how products work and correcting false impression in the mind of the customers. Here I'll give you the example of the Maggie. Once upon a time, there was a message in the market that Maggie is having lead in their products. So they have that was the negative publicity of the Maggie by some of the rival companies, but they have to inform that this was the false information and there is no lead in the company. It is the responsibility of the company to use advertising to inform the public. Persuading is one step ahead, building brand preference, encouraging brand switching, changing customers' perception of a product, attributes, and persuading customers to purchase now. So this is the second step. Third is the reminding, keeping the brand name and use the product in customers' mind again and again, especially during off seasons or the later stage of the product life cycle to ensure top of mind awareness. So you can see that this kind of a reminding, like offering coming on the occasion of the Deepavali, on the occasion of the the Christmas is approaching. So in foreign countries and especially in United Kingdom and USA, the different malls they are reminding the people about the offers which they may get at the time of the at the time of the Christmas. So long queue you can see in the morning outside the malls because of the top offers. Adding value, enhancing product value through brand image, improving quality, and suggesting new users which can lead to greater customer satisfaction and loyalty. This is also one of the important aspect of the advertising management. Supporting other efforts, facilitating personal selling. If the doctor already known about a medicine through a TV ad, so if the medical representative coming personally or meeting, so it will be easy to understand what the product is for a doctor and he will not have to waste their time. The selling efforts may creating initial product awareness and generating leads to our sales teams. The advertising management process depends in the 5 M's. First is the mission, means the objective, defining the specific goal of the advertising campaign, which should be smart, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. Very easy to understand this mission should be smart. Money means budget, determining the advertising budget and allocating resources across different media and market is important. Methods include percentage of scale, percentage of sales, and the competitive parity and objective and task method are important aspect of as far as the budget or advertising budget is concerned. Message means the content, developing the creative strategy, gathering the actual message content and executing it with an appropriate style, tone, and format to capture attention of the interest. Media means the channel, type of media, example TV, print media, social media, or outdoor media like hoardings, billboards, or a glow sign, or you can see nowadays the screens are also there on the crossings of all the metro cities. Measurement means evaluation of the budget which you have invested, assessing the effectiveness of the advertising efforts after executing using metrics like communication impact, brand awareness, attitude change, and where possible, sales impact, the marketing positioning can be assessed through the advertising. Advertising objective are the specific communication goals an organization sets for its advertising campaigns to support its overall marketing and business strategies, and these objectives typically fall under the three main categories: to inform, to persuade, and to remind, as I have already explained you. Here I have given certain examples. The primary advertising objectives are to inform, means pioneering advertising. This is the first example explaining how a new product works, informing customers about the features and benefit, connecting misconceptions and educating the public about its uses. Matrix brand awareness surveys, website traffic, impressions, and each. To pursue means competitive advertising. Now the competitor is there, so you have to differentiate your product through persuading process of the advertising objective, that once a product is established, advertising shifts to persuading customers to prefer and purchase the brand over competitors offering. This is second. Third is the remind, means reminding or reminder advertising. This objective is the vital during the maturity stage of your product life cycle. For established brand, the goal is to maintain customer loyalty and keep the brand top of mind. So this is at the stage of the maturity, means before the product is coming towards the declining stage, you have to remind the public or your target audience about the product. Example, assuring existing customers they made the right choice, reinforcement, reminding customers about the product's benefits during the off season and keep the brand visible in the marketplace. And the metrics are customer retention rates, purchase frequency, and a top of the mind awareness. Other specific advertising objectives are introducing a new product. At the time of introducing a project, you have to establish the brand positioning into the mind of the customers, generating leads, building brand reputation and authority, means positioning the company as a trustworthy expert or thought leader in its industry. So this is not possible without the advertising or using all the basic objectives of informing, persuading, and reminding the customers. Building brand reputation and authority is important. Supporting the sales team and dealers through your continuously ads coming on the TV, like the dealers will get benefit if the company is using Shah Rukh Khan in driving the Hyundai car. So that is the supporting. Increasing usage rate, encouraging existing customers to use the products more frequently or for new purposes. Entering new markets, tailoring message to attract new demographic or geographic segments is also an advertising objective, but that is also addition in the basic three objectives. Now come to the seventh topic of today's lecture, that is Dagmar approach in advertising. What is Dagmar? Dagmar means defining advertising goals and measuring advertising results. Whatever you have spent on advertising or through advertising, is there any result of that or not? What is the return on investment of your advertising budget? So you have to know this through this approach in the marketing model for setting clear, measurable advertising objectives and evaluating the success of campaign based on its communication effects under than just sales. So this approach has been developed by Russell H. Coley in 1961. It is used a hierarchy of consumer understanding to guide the advertising process. What is this Dagmar approach objectives? The approach requires that advertising objectives are specific, measurable, communication, task with a defined target audience, a clear benchmark, and clear benchmark is also there. Uh, uh, so, a clear benchmark means and a specified time frame you have to achieve the expenses you have incurred on your advertising expenses. So, first is concentrate and measurable task. Objective must be precise, a statement of what the advertisement intends to achieve. Example, increase brand awareness from 10% to 30%, for example. That this brand is always known, everybody known that there is a brand Lycra. So Lycra, for example, Lycra is not a product, is a brand, but everybody in everybody's mind Lycra is a product. So this is a good uh, approach of marketing positioning of a company. Target audience is the second. The specific group of consumers the campaign aims to reach must be clearly defined. Example, 50,000 students in Lucknow preparing for CAT exam. This is an example of target audience. They are your target audience. Benchmark and degree of challenge change is also important. The starting point of the target audience awareness attitude must be identified, the benchmark, and the desired change must be specified. Example, moving from 5% brand identification to the 25%, then it will be useful, otherwise it is a loss of the advertising budget. The specified time period is also important. You cannot wait for a year. So time, for example, 6 months, 1 year, within which the objective are to be achieved or must be set. The ACCA model hierarchy effects I have given here in the diagram. You can see D for defining, A for advertising, G for goal, M for budget, A for advertising, R for results. So this is Dagmar approach, which is based on ACCA model. So Dagmar approach maps the consumer's mental journey from being unaware of a product to making a purchase, often referred to the ACCA model. So the first A stand for awareness. The initial step 2 is to make the target audience aware of a product, service or a brand's existence in the market. Second is comprehension. Consumer must understand what the product is, what are its features, and how it can be benefited from this product. Third is seek, stand for conviction. This stage involves building a mental disposition and preference for product, convincing the consumers they need it over competitors' products. And the last is the action. The final stage is motivating the consumer to take the desired action, means purchase, such as purchasing the product, signing up for a service, or visiting a store. So this is ACCA, a model which is to be used by Dagmar approach. Come to the last topic, that is advertising media selection and decision. Advertising media selection is a strategic process of choosing the most cost effective and efficient media channel to convey an advertising message to the target audience. Effective media planning involves a careful analysis and various factors to ensure optimal use of the resources and achievement of advertising objectives. So the process of advertising media selection involves identify the target audience. I have already explained the advertising earlier. Means what is the demography you need to be informed, the age, sex, income, education, etc., local, national, international as far as the geographical location is concerned, and the behavioral traits, mean buying habits, media consumption, buy motives, etc. Establish media objectives, clearly state what the media plans is intended to achieve, such as reach, number of people exposed to ad at least once, frequency. This is very important. Reach, frequency, and impact. So frequency means average number of times exposed, or impact the qualitative value of the exposure through a given medium. And determine the budget. The total amount of funds available significantly influence the choice of media, as some media, example the national TV, are much more expensive than the others, and especially during the, you can see the international cricket matches, World Cup, the TV media is most costliest media, and per insertion they charge a huge amount from the companies, and if they are giving 4 ads, they are charging crores of rupees. So this is very important, and the cheapest is the the written media, or you can say the print media, like distribution of handbills in the newspapers. This is the media selection process. The first is select media type and vehicle. Vehicle means the medium through which you are disseminating the information. Choose the broad media categories. Print means newspaper, journals, magazines, handbills, even broadcast media, TV and radio. Digital media means the digital websites or WhatsApp or any other digital form. Outdoor media means hoardings, billboards, the glow signs you can see, or the screens nowadays and metro cities, and specific vehicles within those categories. Example, the New York Times as a newspaper vehicle, a specific TV channel like NDTV or the Sony TV, they are the different vehicles. Develop a media mix. Most campaigns use combination of media to maximize reach and impact. Means the ad is coming in the TV also, it's coming into the full page of a newspaper also. This is called the media mix. Schedule the advertising. Decide on timing and frequency of ad insertions using strategies like continuous STD advertising, year-round flighting, heavy advertisement during a specific period like on the occasion of the Dhanteras or Navratris. A lot of ads you can see on the television about the cars and the luxury item or different consumer durables. Or pulsing means continuous advertising at low weight with bursts of heavy activity. Next is the evaluate effectiveness. Monitor and measure the results of the campaign against the initial objective to determine its success and inform future decisions. So this is the topic. This is about the process of media selection, which I have given in a diagram. Also, you can go through that. These are the factors of media selection. Target audience. You should know your target audience. You have to first segment the people from heterogeneous to a homogeneous groups. Then demographic, age, income, social status, educational standards, etc. Location, where potential customers are located. Media habits, what media audience consumer generally go through. Product and market, nature of the product, competition about the product into the market size and segments, budget and cost, overall pricing budget, cost effectiveness, and message and objectives, advertising objectives, what the campaign aims to achieve, message type, whether the message is informational or demonstrative. Reach frequency is also very important. The number of people exposed to a message on a particular time or a period is also important factor for media selection. Type of media, print media, newspaper, magazines, journals, uh, uh, leaflets, brochures, uh, anything which is in the form of a print, that can be a print media. Broadcast media, television and radio. Only two type of media or vehicles comes under the broadcast media, that is television and radio. Digital media, social media, website, email or any other platform which nowadays Instagram, Facebook, anything which we are using on comes under the digital media. Out of home media is billboard, transit ads or anything, hoardings, wall painting. If you go through the train, you can see a lot of advertisements on both the side of the wall of the railway track. You can see this is called wall painting. Key decision in media planning are media mix, reach, frequency, scheduling. Reach means the number of unique people exposed to ad. Frequency, the number of times an individual see the ad. है ना? Whether you are daily newspaper reader or occasionally or once you whenever you sit on a dhaba, you have to see the newspaper or go through the newspaper. Scheduling, when the ad will appear, daytime, etc., to align with the target audience behavior. So thank you so much. This is for today's lecture. We have already explained you the physical distribution, supply chain management system, different kind of intermediaries involved in physical distribution of a product from the producer to the consumers, ultimate users. We have discussed the characteristics of different intermediaries, and the process of selecting the different intermediaries for distribution of the products. We have discussed about the organized and unorganized retailing. What is organized retailing? We have discussed about the mall, departmental stores, superstores, hypermarkets, etc. And unorganized mean like the kirana shop and the vendor streets or different shops near your house or location, or in your nearby shops. They comes under the unorganized sectors. We have discussed about the service marketing, discussed the different characteristics of marketing: intangibility, inseparability, heterogeneity, ownership, and all these we have discussed today. And we have also discussed the three factors of the marketing mix, which comes under the services, that is the extended marketing mix: people, process, and physical evidence. We have discussed advertising, what exactly advertising is, what are the different advertising decisions, Dagmar approach. We have a large discussion on ACCM model I have discussed here today. And at the last, we have discussed the selection of advertising media. What are the different types of a media and how we select the media? What are the categories? What are the factors on the basis we select a media to advertise our products? So I hope you have learned a lot from my today's lecture. And goodbye for today. And thank you so much. Good day.